Now I'm live. Okay. I'm going to wait. I'm just going to talk to myself while I get this going. I don't anticipate a ton of people to be here, but hello if you're here already. I know I'm watching my chat. I'll pull up my stuff here. All right, no feedback loop. Cool. Alrighty, welcome to the live stream. If you have any questions that you didn't ask in the community tab, you can always feel free to drop them in chat and I will answer them in real time. I'm going to go through the actual list here. I have a few things to kind of touch on, some frequently asked questions that weren't in the community questions tab, but stuff that I get asked all the time. So I'll go over that and then kind of talk about where things are with the channel, what I plan on doing with them, like where I see like opportunity, and we can, if anyone wants to ask questions, I'm going to try to do this for as long as I can, really. I've got pretty much 2 to 3 p.m. sectioned off right now, so I can be available. But I'm probably just gonna ramble a bit and try and get some thoughts out. So going over to the community tab. First of all, thank you to everyone who has subscribed and liked and commented and shared. It's all been huge. A lot of the traffic has basically been coming from like 4 shorts in the past 90 days. I've been on YouTube on now for almost 2 years, but it was very sporadic that first year because I really wasn't sure what I was doing. I started doing the Army Men content sort of on a whim, and it sort of took a while to find a flow with what to do exactly with the. Oops, Siri's trying to talk to me. Took a while to find a flow to what to do with the short content, and now that I've been hitting a nice stride with it, I'm sort of seeing it coming into its own and being like part of like a larger vision for what I had always hoped to do, which was just create content, build community, and hopefully engage with people, educate as best I can on my own art and creativity experience, because I do so much outside of painting. I have my own design business called Damn Good Brand. I've been in branding for almost over 15 years now, so I create logos and style guides. But this at websites too. But this has all sort of been like a process that has come out of the pandemic. So late 2020, I got into painting Warhammer, and then I sort of segued that into Army Men when I got bored with painting Warhammer because they're so tiny. I sort of took a break and just like was looking around all my old toys, and I saw a bunch of Army Men laying around. I thought they'd be kind of fun, and that sort of started the entire thought process. And I created that first video of how to paint Army Men. So from that, I started to do some other ones, and then I started to get into the history of Army Men, which I thought is really cool, and learning about pretty much everything that I can, like from the different toy makers to finding like scout, like checking out the secondary market online. I've been like searching eBay a lot. Been pulling back on that a little bit right now, but learning about Airfix and Matchbox brands has been really fun. I think those two are the two big standouts for me, but obviously there's lots of brands out there, and looking at even different smaller scales like 176 and 172 and learning about the differences, because I was looking at like all those things. Like there's so much to know about toy collecting, especially vintage toy collecting, that I find incredibly interesting and fun. The hunt is especially fun as well. Like I love going to antique stores or going yard selling and trying to find old toys that I could potentially paint up. So right now my painted Army Men collection is kind of like the best stuff is what I've put on the channel, I think. But I do have lots of painted stuff that just is like not up to like any sort of standard. It's just sort of I was practicing, and I started doing a lot of the Army Men painting specifically because it was a cheap way to practice. And Warhammer models, as everyone knows, they are much more expensive. You're talking if you can get them on secondary market, you can get troop choices and stuff for around $2 each, or sometimes less if you find a good bundle. But Army Men, you're talking 50 cents a toy or something like that. And especially if you get them used, you can really get those numbers down if they're not vintage. But all that being said, I started the hobby really I did it in high school, which was back in 2003, 2004. I graduated in 2004. So I did it. I started with Necrons and Warhammer 40K, and then I played with my brother. We played Warhammer 40K and Fantasy for a while. I never tried any alternative games. I did a little bit with D&D when I was kind of like through the years, but never really painted in much. And then in 2020, right around the time we had our son, who will be 4 this Halloween, he is when I started to get back into it, because everyone, not everyone, but I had a few friends that were egging me on. And I was like, it might be a nice quiet hobby to sort of get into. I could paint. And that's exactly what it was. So the original Army Man video actually was like done in several 15-minute spurts when my son was napping. I would record, sit down at the desk, paint. He would nap for an hour or something. I would paint and record, and then I sort of stitched it together over the course of a week. And that was sort of basically what I did with all of my original long form content. So I don't put out a lot of long form content because I have been enjoying doing the shorts and being able to use the music. You can't use copyrighted music in long form content on YouTube. So the short content is great. You get access to all these songs that YouTube has partnerships with. And then that allows me to, be a bit more creative and draw in. I think it casts a wider net because people can bond over like the Metallica songs, which are my 2 most popular videos are the German infantryman and the Japanese soldier with the tall grass. So that one just passed 500,000 views, which is really exciting. And that has been like the bulk of what I think has drawn a lot of people in. But I've been getting a lot of great comments from people who just checked out all of the videos and really like the vibes of everything. So it's been a lot of fun. I like doing it. I want to keep doing it. And I want to segue that into more in the future. So more on that as it develops. But the plan is to essentially create an email list of people who are interested in learning more about the painting and getting a deeper dive, potentially joining a membership, and then having access to like an exclusive store where you can purchase my painted miniatures or access more in-depth PDF and video tutorials. So more on that as I sort of work through it. I've got it all set up. You can join the email list on jamesviola.com, but I don't have anything like ready to go yet. It's in the works within like probably looking to get that launched within the next 2 weeks, I would say. So I'll be posting more about it on the community tab, and we'll probably do like a short video for it. So you'll be well aware if you're following the channel, subscribed, and looking for it when new information will come out. I'm going to do exclusive stuff. The idea is to really move away from doing so much of the damn good brand stuff, which has been great, but move more into the creative side of my life and share that through this channel. So it's going to be a lot of painted content, but it's just general creativity, like building the little diorama for the one Army Man was a lot of fun. So ways that I can show you things that I've learned and the way I see things and how I can create little creative hacks for people just to have fun with and hopefully inspire other people. So all that being said, kind of getting into the questions here on the community tab, I'm going to just kind of go. It's not that many. I sort of go through some of the other frequently asked questions that I've been asked too. What's up, Kingbridge Studios? How you doing, bud? Thanks for joining. Just kind of quickly, I see you asked when I started the hobby. I don't know when you joined, but just sort of was recounting that I started really painting in late 2020 during the pandemic when my son was born as sort of like a quiet hobby to get into. And I painted back in early 2000s when I was in high school, and I got into the hobby with Warhammer 40K. So I'm doing good, man. Thanks for joining. I'm sort of just rambling, kind of going over the timeline for what I'd like to do with everything I'm posting and where I see the potential for the channel as it grows. The growth has been like exponential and a little kind of hard to keep up with all the comments. Um, and especially in the past 2 weeks, everything has just sort of exploded, which has been great. And I really appreciate it. But at the same time, like, okay, now I really got to sit down. I always told myself when things start to take off and when I start to see a future, I'll sit down and really write it. And now it's the time. So now I've got my full-time job that I've my business, Damn Good Brand. But now I want to, like, I'd rather be doing this. I'd rather be painting and just leading like a more creative, fulfilling life than doing client work, which has been great. I love my clients and I love all the work we've done, but I've been doing it for 15 years. I'm sort of itching to do this full time in some capacity, at least start to make more strides towards it and towards building a community. And whether that's, whatever the reasons people are coming to this channel for, whether it be it the music, the shorts, just because they like the vibe or whatever, or if they want to learn how to paint. I mean, I'm by no means an expert master painter or anything, and I kind of learning as I go along. But I'm happy to share those skills with everybody, and hopefully we can like enjoy the journey together. And I would love to get a community set up where we can share work and learn from each other. I think that would be really cool. So yeah, just sort of been doing it for 4 years now, and it's when I can do it. But lately, it's been much more consistent, and that's when I've really started to see the growth popping off on the channel, which is fun. And yeah, one of the questions is like, what toy soldier brand do I think is the best one? It depends. Like for painting, I really like the Airfix stuff. I like the newer versions, the harder plastic. I think they're a bit smoother and easier to clean up. But the vintage ones are a bit like they're cool. I like them, but they're softer plastic, so they're a bit goofy to clean up. It's just harder to get them real polished and smooth. The German Army Man that's got like over 400,000 views in my shorts feed, you can see that I was trying to clean it up and it just ended up with all these little frayed edges. And I didn't really try to sand it, but it's like a soapier plastic. It's softer. But the newer Airfix ones are a harder plastic, almost to the point where they're brittle. Like I bought a box of U.S. Marines, and all the guys standing up shooting, all their gun barrels were broken when they arrived. So that sucks. But most of the figures look pretty good. All of the British Commandos I got are that harder plastic. They're great. All the Germans I got are that blue plastic from the one officer video. They're pretty good too. But then I've got a mix of stuff. I've got a lot of vintage, like British paratroopers, and a lot of just junk armament. But then I've been looking and trying to find like old Marks toys that I like. And I have a lot of unpainted Warhammer too. So I might be starting to add that into the rotation just to sort of to share a wider variety of characters and topics and subjects. So I just dropped the tank video because I've been getting a lot of questions on whether or not I'm going to do more vehicles and aircraft. So that was sort of like a nice segue into that. I've got some Shermans over here. Like I like the idea of painting simple toys to look cool, rather than getting like the best models and then painting them to look awesome. Because I like a lot of people already do that. I don't really see anybody taking stuff that you wouldn't expect to look good painted and then trying to make it look cool, especially with that guy, this one right here. This little guy in the, it's going to be really hard to focus this because that's just how the webcam on my computer is. But I just thought he was so derpy looking, but he had this big old sexy chest. And I was like, I'm going to paint him to look cool. And the idea for the diorama kind of came after it, because when I was done, I thought it was pretty bad sculpt, and I didn't really love it. So he needs more. So I like to push the creativity that way. Let me read your questions here. That's so great. I'm glad it inspired you, man. Your is toy soldiers from where? Okay. My toy soldier. Yeah, a lot of them are from my childhood, but then I've also been buying vintage Airfix to paint. But I've been buying vintage Matchbox just to keep, because I have several that are still sealed in the package with the original sticker and stuff. So I think that's kind of cool. So I've always been a collector of different things, toys, and a really big Magic the Gathering collector for a long time. And So now I've got these great Matchbox sets. I have the whole set of the 83 line, which is cool. And yeah, I've been finding those on eBay. So I would definitely paint a knockoff of a Airfix toy soldier. Someone asked me. Yeah, like I said, I'm trying to find stuff that would be an unexpected thing to paint. So the Army men are definitely hitting on an underserved market, which I think is great. But I have things from my childhood, like these. These are two rocker chicks. Like this is they're called Cuties, and these are from the '90s. And she's playing a guitar. This one's playing a tambourine. Like I think that would be really fun to paint. They have just enough detail that a good paint job could make them look cool. And then I've got I have over there. I've got like some. It's Al Capone and like some gangsters that I found when I was out looking at an antique store. And I've also got, oh my gosh, there's so much stuff. Well, I did the Bandai, painted one of these guys. I don't have the painted one near me, but I got a couple of these. So like these 30-minute model kits I think are great because they're just so simple. They like beg to be painted. And then I've got these there's these Russian toy soldiers that you can get them on Amazon. It's like $10 for 5 of them, and they're these really unique sculpts. So this is like a skull warrior with an axe, and there's like all kinds of stuff like that around the office. There's just literally so much. So it's all in like plastic containers off to my side here. But over there is my IKEA shelf, and that rotates all the time. Like I've always got stuff up there. A lot of it's my painted miniatures, and there's some orcs up there. They're not greatly painted. They're not even finished, but there's also some board games. There's a Lionheart game and a Rivet Wars game. So the Rivet Wars game is all inspired by World War I soldiers. So there's like a German-looking side and a British-looking side. And they're really cool. They're like little squatty guys. So I want to paint them up. And there's a B-17 bomber up there that I want to paint. So my great uncle, who I never met, he was a pilot in World War II. He flew his 35 missions in Europe as a B-17 pilot, and then he came back home. And tragically, he was killed in an air collision while training new pilots back in the States. So his name was Salvatore Catanese, and he was my grandfather's brother or uncle. So he's my great uncle, great uncle. He was up there, but yeah, he was very young when he passed away. But he did a tremendous service to the country and flew. I believe they had to fly 35 missions, maybe it was 25 missions in order to come back home. Yes, and Kingbridge Studios. Yeah, the paratroopers. I actually have them in my eBay cart. It's just one of those things where I've got so much already lined up. I'm like, all right, there's a lot more to paint because I want to do the German like forest camo that I've seen on so many different miniatures. Now, one of the things I've been learning a lot about World War II history. I've always had like a passing knowledge of it. I've always loved the movies like Saving Private Ryan, and there's a lot of them, but there's so much to know, especially when it comes to like the details. A lot of people comment on like the inaccuracies of my painting in terms of color and stuff like that, which isn't a big deal, but I'm trying to look for like the best references all the time so I can be a little bit more accurate. And then that's something I hope to do more of. I would love to do the German paratroopers, and I want to do like the forest camo. And Amir, my favorite soldiers, I really like. I really like all of the Airfix models. Honestly, they're all great. There's a couple of goofy poses here and there, like the running poses. I don't love the running poses. Probably cool for stop animation if. A lot of people ask me to do that stuff, but it's a whole other skill that I don't have. So, hey, Lovro, thank you. Hello from New Jersey. nice to see you. So yeah, I'd say Airfix is my favorite to paint. The scale is good, the 132. I learned that the difference between Europeans do it as 135 and 176, and Americans do 132 and 172. So I didn't know that. I was wondering why there was these little inaccuracies. So I can kind of figure out what I have that is, I guess, made, like produced in Europe if I don't have a box for it. So I think that's pretty cool. I'm just going to quickly look. Yeah, there's not a ton of questions here. I want to do more. I want to paint the B-17 bomber I have. It's an Airfix build, except the model isn't that, like, I damaged it while I was building it, so I'm not really sure what to do with it. But I was going to build that B-17 as like an homage to my great uncle who I never met. I do want to do it. It's just I'm not a big fan of the actual model kit itself. So I don't think there's anything super pressing here, but yeah, some of the stuff I get asked a lot is like, what paints do I use? It's mostly Vallejo acrylics, and then I have a bit of Citadel paints that are made by Games Workshop, and a few Army Painter speed paints. And I got started with Army Painter because it was cheap and I was sort of getting into it, and I would buy little pieces at a time. Then I learned about Vallejo, and I just thought the coverage and matte look was a lot better at the time. Army Painter stuff was all a bit more drying, a bit more glossy, and it was just not as appealing to me as the flatter paints. So then I've been sticking to Vallejo, and I really like them a lot. And yeah, so if you guys have any other questions, feel free to drop them in the channel. But for the most part, I what you see is what I've kind of been working on lately. There's definitely part of me that wants to do everything as a long form video too. So I'm going to be enlisting my wife's cousin. He's an editor. We're going to try and do everything that you see as a short will be a longer time, like a longer video moving forward. That's the ideal situation. My problems with that have always just sort of been like me being pulled in two different directions with my full-time job. And then like I would spend 2 to 4 hours painting something, and then it would take me 4 to 6 hours to edit the video down, because I'd have, all this video to go through, and I have to write over it and try to make it entertaining as best as I can with what I've got, the footage that I've got. And I'm trying to find that balance. So, yeah, Lovra, I like doing the vehicles. I don't do a whole lot of them. I just don't have a lot because they take up so much space. So I just posted a tank video today. I don't know if you saw it. It's my most recent short if you go to the channel page. And that was a lot of fun. I already got commented that the colors were wrong, but it was really, everything I do is just practice for painting. I'm not trying to achieve any sort of historical accuracy. I'm really trying to have fun and create the shorts and have them be as entertaining as possible to draw people in. And then we'll kind of build out more content from that. And then having fun and doing stuff that's interesting to me is more important than being super historically accurate. Although I do appreciate it and respect all the people who can do that stuff, it's just not as interesting to me, especially because there's so many people already doing it. I want to try and focus on being as creative as possible and finding fun little angles of approach to take the toy painting directions. So yeah, I'm going to continue to do the vintage series that I've been doing. So the rotating troop choices. And I'm glad you saw that, Lavra. I did that pretty quickly. I'm very happy with how it turned out, considering the time frame. And I've never really painted a vehicle like that detailed with the camo before, and I was trying out weathering effects. So I want to do more of it, but I got to find like a good balance between not just buying a model kit and painting it to look awesome, which I think is great, but there's so many channels that already do it. So if I can find the angles that I can, like I did the BMC King Tiger tank just because it's such a flat and basic toy. I think it's really cool when you paint that up to give it that kind of wow factor, because obviously a lot of detail can bring in that factor as well, but it's kind of fun to me when it's a very simple simple toy too that's made to look cooler. And then whatever else I can do to make it even better by like adding a base or something like that, and then finding a creative way to make the base is another thing I like to explore. So this guy specifically, he's on top of a Starbucks cold iced coffee bottle cap. So the this was another one too. This is another brand, but these are iced coffee containers, and then they have these big old wide lids. So this will be another one that I'll use for a base. So trying to recycle, upcycle as much as I can. Here's another one called Stock. We drink a lot of iced coffee in this house. I have a hot one today because it's chilly here. But these little things I've been saving, I try and save like little pieces of plastic to make whatever I can make and try to upcycle stuff. So I was just pretty happy when I realized these things would be pretty cool as bases, because these plinths can go for, like, if you buy real plinths, they can be expensive, like flat blocks of wood. Yeah, so the as I learn, I'm going to post what I learn for sure. I just finished the King Tiger tank to short, and I have all the video in wide format, like landscape format. So I just need to edit it down and do some voice overlay. So I need to figure out what I want to say and then go through and add in all the colors, and that all just takes so much more time, like to break it down. Doing the shorts it still takes me upwards of an hour to edit down all the footage into a short, but I know that I'm limited to 60 seconds. So I can kind of just like do quick clips. But then when I'm doing the longer form content, I want it to be at least 10 minutes. So it's a lot more thinking, like how long do I want each section to be? And then I have to find music, and if there's reference photos I want to share, like that's the place to do it. The most recent one I did for the frog camo, or the camouflage army man, that took 4 or 5 hours to put that video together. And it's nothing crazy. It's just I have a very long video that's maybe 2 or 3 hours long of painting, and I've got to watch it all, find the best parts, and then shorten it down, speed things up in some parts, then do voiceover audio on it. So it takes a lot longer. And with the full-time job, it's always been second priority, third priority to the family. So I definitely want to do more of that, and I intend to. It's just I've got my wife's cousin, like I said. I'm going to enlist him to help me do those edits a bit quicker. That should save me a lot of time. I should be able to do more. I would love to get into a rhythm where I'm doing 3 shorts a week and 1 or 2 longer form videos. I think that would be ideal. And then we'll just keep building onto that. And then, within a year, I'll have a massive catalog of content built up where I can reference things and point people to different things. And in conjunction with that, I want to have a website where I've got more broken down, like a tutorial that's even broken down even further, to doing like more specifics, like painting just like pieces of things, or having exclusive content on there, and then build a community up in that regard. Because the more I do this, I'm going to need to figure out a way to, like, in full transparency, I need to find a way to make money from it in some way. So that would be like a longer term play, because the full-time business does well, like my branding business does well. And in order to replace that, this needs to do as good, or if not better. And I know there's a lot of potential to make money on YouTube and everything, but I don't want to be super reliant on the algorithm long term. I've got to think about this with a much longer term view than just like getting views and clicks and getting people to join a Patreon or whatever. I really want to make it work long term. And my full-time business took a long time to get to that point. So I imagine this will take a heavy investment as well. Hi, Professor Nether. Welcome to the live, man. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in. Yeah, I have a corgi. His name is Warhol. Warhol. I think he's laying down in the kitchen right now. He's in the other room. Yeah, he'll be 9 this year, and he's probably tired of laying down. But yeah, he's a good boy. Yeah, he's a Welsh Pembroke Corgi. We got him the pizza. Yeah, man, he's awesome. I wish he would come in here, but he's got a torn ACL, so he doesn't get around great. Like he's pretty good, but he's not coming when I'm calling him right now because he's probably like, if I don't have any treats, he's not as motivated to just come sit. Warhol. And he's probably sleeping. I don't hear him. I don't hear his little pitter patters. But if he comes in, I'll show him. So yeah, I've got Warhog. I have a son. I've got a wife. We've been together 13 years. Everything's doing great. We live in New Jersey, right outside of Philadelphia. So we're on the west side. And yeah, I would love to keep doing this stuff. I want to try and do more lives too. People are always interested in chatting. Not always, but I've got a few people that regularly ask me when I'm doing my next live and what I can do to maybe set up a schedule. I think that's on my radar too, is to have a semi flexible schedule. People can expect me to maybe be live at the same time every week. I don't want to be too strict with it because I've still got my full-time business and my family, but I want to become more, I want to say, predictable in that regard. Oh, nice. My neighbor across the street has King Charles Cavalier. They're awesome dogs. They're so soft. Professor Nether. Yeah, if I can license some cool music, I will. But right now, the shorts, YouTube has partnerships with all these music production companies. I don't know how many, but that's what gives me access to such great music in the shorts. You can't add those in longer form content. There's issues with copyright on that. So what I actually have friends that are musicians that might talk to them about either having them write a couple custom pieces for my longer form content, or using some of their music, getting permission, because they're not under any major labels. I don't think they'd have a problem with it. This way you'd get exposure to some of the local bands from around New Jersey. But I need to really find stuff that, there's so much generic stuff I see and hear in the same videos over and over again because it's free. There's a lot of free content out there. Also, in my long form videos, I also play the guitar, the acoustic guitar, and I just jam. Like you can hear it in some of them. It's just me jamming, like just because it's copyright free. I just sit there and play. Yeah, TikTok and YouTube Shorts, like you can use the music on those. I don't know what it is about the short form content. They just don't care as much because you can't get the full song. I guess you're limited. I would love it if YouTube Shorts were up to. I would love them to just be a little bit longer, but it doesn't even really seem to matter because if I post a 60-second video, at best, it gets a 60% view rate. Like people are only watching about half of it anyway. So even if I had a 2-minute video, I doubt they would even watch a minute of it. And then the few videos that the longer form content I've posted, it's usually like about a 20% view rate, 20 to 30% like view rate all the way through. So those numbers are very low. The videos aren't that exciting and engaging. I know I'm not like Mr. Beast making the best content for the platform, but I really just started into it to sort of try editing techniques, and being like a creative person in general, I tried to add something or do something different with every video. So to try to add on to my list of like what I'm capable of doing, my skills. But my ambitions always exceed my skill level, and I end up always tampering it back. So they become very, very mid, which is fine because I want them to be educational. That's sort of where I'm aiming for, is like sharing what I have, not trying to be like super entertaining with them. But long term, I would love to do a mix of just more fun content. I need a better microphone setup. I need a better camera. Right now, I'm just using my phone. So all that stuff, again, thinking long term, I would absolutely love to invest in it. Yeah, YouTube is pretty strict. They give you copyright strikes if you post anything with copyrighted music, and if you're monetized, you can only do it if you get 3 strikes. They'll demonetize you, and I'm nowhere near monetization. Even with 10,000 subscribers, the hours watched on my long form content is too low, and you need 3 million views in a 90-day period just to activate memberships. and you need 10 million views in a 90-day period on shorts to get any sort of YouTube like ad revenue. So I'm nowhere near those numbers, but it's getting better. I mean, it's great to have so many subscribers. That's a huge milestone for me personally, from being on many different social media platforms for more than 15 years. This is the most traction I've ever gained, and for something I'm like very excited about. Like I love doing the painting videos, so it's really cool. Yeah, I just have an acoustic guitar right now. My electric broke. I got rid of it. I gave it to a friend, but I want to get a new one. And thank you very much for all the nice words. Yeah, I think even if it's accidental, you have to be really careful. They have I don't know how it works, but they have some program that checks for easily recognizable copyrighted material, whether video or audio, and it'll flag it right away. I accidentally posted the video I posted of the mech, the Walker mech. Somehow I added too many seconds to it, which I didn't know you could do when I was making the short, and it made it into a video and posted it as a video rather than a short. And then it immediately got taken down because I had the whatever song I used. I can't even remember the song I used now. But I was like, oh, I didn't even know it was possible. So then that was very frustrating. But if I was monetized, it would have been like I believe an automatic strike, and then you only get 3. So you had to be really careful. I don't want to do any songs really unless I'm playing them myself, or if like a buddy who can write something for me. Yeah, I think it was. What was it? I can look, but I see it now. I can't play anything in this live. Even in this live video right now, I cannot have any music playing, because once the video gets once the live ends, it'll get posted, and then that's when they detect whether or not there's copyrighted material in it, and then that becomes ineligible to be viewed as well. And it's interesting because the YouTube shorts themselves don't count towards your watch hours. Like I've got tens of thousands of watch hours through YouTube shorts and millions of views, which is great, but none of that counts towards monetization. All they care, I mean, the views do, but not the hours watched. So hours watched only counts to the long form content. I just don't do enough long form content, so the monetization hasn't come. But then I'm also trying not to hitch my wagon just to being like a YouTuber. I don't really love that term. I would rather just be a creative person that shares the content and that build a community off the platform in some way. So I'm not always reliant on the algorithm or anything. Because even like yesterday, the one video of the Japanese soldier that I created with the tufts and everything, that's my most viewed video. And last night, for some reason, at 8:00, and since then, the views have been cut by 2/3. Like it was getting over 1,500 views an hour for 2 weeks straight. And then last night, now it's showing about 400 views an hour since last night till now. So like that's in the algorithm, right? It's really just what people are watching and what they're sharing. So for whatever reason, it's not being shared or viewed as much, and it's just dropped off. So that kind of stuff can happen at any time, and you kind of have to be prepared for it. So I've had like a great spike in traffic and views and subscribers, but now I'm totally expecting it to just drop back off and level off somewhere. And then I'm going to keep hopefully making content that people like, and hopefully we'll start to see like a more gradual increase, because I think at the rate it was climbing, for me personally, it's hard to keep up with. It's only several thousand views in the past couple of weeks, but that's a lot of, or subscribers, but that's still a lot of like new questions and new potential like long-term subscribers and people like to share with. So I'm very interested in nice, slow, organic growth for the long term. Yeah, I think Professor Nia, it's definitely a time. Like I think it's actually 6 seconds is like the legal amount of time you can share something, and then there's fair use copyright. It's also it's also there's such a legal aspect to it that I'd rather just avoid it entirely, which I think most people do. So yeah, you can do a portion of a song, but once it starts to become familiar and the algorithm can pick up on it, you're screwed, right? So uh, yeah, Creative Commons stuff. It's a little bit different. Um, Creative Commons is more for independent creators, and it really doesn't have any. Like I've used Creative Commons like open licensing stuff because I used to create vector sets and sell them. So I would post them on my website under a Creative Commons uh, um, copyright, I guess you'd call it. And I mean, I really don't know how much that stands up because it's just something you slap on it. I really don't know. But you don't mess with the music industry or the movie industry. They're like the big industries. You just don't mess with their stuff. So I'm interested though in collaborating with smaller people who are under a label to maybe create some custom songs for the like in that same like metal rock and roll genre. Like I have a few friends that are in metal bands. I'm hoping to maybe collaborate with them and have like maybe a custom intro or something. I think that would be really cool. And then have just background music for the tutorial content. And then I want to be open to whatever other people want to hear too. I know some people are interested in me doing like more in-depth reviews. I mean, I think that's pretty fun to sort of do. Like I'm I'm a younger person, right? But I compared to some people who like grew up in the 70s, I grew up in the 90s, but people who grew up in the 70s with a lot of the Airfix and Matchbox toys, they got to experience them and have like stuck with them and have known about them longer. There's an incredible amount of people out there with much more in-depth knowledge than me, but coming to it as sort of like a novice to say like, oh, here's my review of Matchbox Army Men compared to Airfix or the sets. I think that's kind of cool. It has some value to it just as like a newcomer, like what I see and what might be like a fresh take from myself rather than someone who's seasoned and knows like the production times and what everything was in the set. Like that, learning about all that stuff takes time. And I've been really grateful to everyone who's kind of taken it amongst themselves to post comments and share their stories and the history of all these brands. I think that's really cool. Like toy history is really fun to me. I think that's cool. Yeah, I would love to, yeah, and I would love to, yeah, even if yeah, vice versa too. Like what is small like a small creator? It's really anybody who isn't really adhering to or under the thumb or working for someone else, I think, or just who has their own stuff. I mean, it's always mutually beneficial for sure. I also, there's this guy in my like local guy. He makes he has his own line of miniatures and he's got his own game. It's called Slapshot Showdown. So they're basically hockey players, but they've got a theme. It's all like horror movie theme. So this is a plague doctor. It's a plague doctor, and he is on ice skates. I'm gonna damage this if I take it out right now. But he's got a hockey stick, and he's using a human head as the hockey puck. But the hockey puck is actually in the human head's mouth, and it's sort of like tongue in cheek. It's supposed to be funny. It reminds me of the old show from the '90s. I can't remember what it was, but basically there were monsters and they would play football, different sports. I can't remember what it was called, but they would always get like torn up during the gameplay. So like if they were playing football, like they'd be running and they'd like knock each other's torsos off. It was incredibly violent and grotesque, but this was kind of but it was, a cartoon for kids. But that's what that reminds me of. I can't remember the name of that show, but it was awesome. It was there wasn't a lot of episodes produced because I looked it up years later and now I just can't remember what it was called. If it comes to me, I'll definitely share it. So I'd love to work with smaller creators too to paint custom their miniatures. And I think it would be awesome to have like create a line of custom soldiers. They'd have to be resin printed. But I think that would be awesome to have like a new take on classic Army men with new poses. So that's something that has always been in the back of my mind. And then I would, sell those. Could either sell the STL files or have them printed and sell them individually. I'm not super interested in having a lot of overhead right now because I'm so used to doing the full-time business, which is all digital. So low overhead is great, but having something that, I collaborate with a sculptor or a 3D sculptor or something, and then maybe even a concept artist to make uh, unique new action figures would be really cool. Like a new take on the old Airfix figures in fun new poses would be awesome. But there's so much content out there like already. Just not a lot of it isn't World War II stuff. So picking the right era is also important. There's not a lot. I mean, there's new stuff, but it's all like model kits, and the scales are all over the place. So, well, so it's 2:45 here. I think I'm gonna jump off if there's no other questions, because uh, I'm just sort of reeling from the day. I had a full morning. I got the tank video up, which I'm really excited about, and I want to kind of just save my energy for when my son gets home too. But this has been really great. And then yeah, George, I'll answer your question. Hey, George, I've seen your comments a lot. I got started painting them sort of randomly. I answered this earlier too. So George, if you want, you can go back and hear an even longer winded answer from the beginning of the live stream. But I started painting them when my son was born at the end of 2020, because I had a lot of them laying around, and I thought it would be a nice change up from painting all the Warhammer stuff that I had. I had all fantasy Warhammer. So I was like, oh, let me try painting these British paratroopers, which I didn't know were British paratroopers at the time. I just thought they were like generic army men, World War II soldiers. So the community has been great in educating me on exactly what they were. And now since having learned that, I can pretty much identify what era most army men are from. And I still like this guy. He's actually supposed to be a Desert Storm soldier, but I stuck him in the jungle. So he's supposed to be wearing like desert camo fatigues. But I'm learning every time I post something, I learn something else. And there's a couple guys who always correct me on like what things should really be, and I appreciate that. I mean, I'm not really concerned. One of the things that makes me laugh is a lot of people say that this German right here that I did in the style of the Team Fortress 2 soldier, everyone says they never wore red, or like they don't like it because it's not the right color. And it makes me laugh, because like I've said, I'm not going for historical accuracy. I'm just practicing painting and having fun with the toys I have. So some people think that's disrespectful, and that's fine that they have those thoughts. But I enjoy just kind of having fun. I love the community. Like I love when people make suggestions. There's a couple people who've made some I need to get to. But I've pretty much gotten to most of them. A lot of people are asking me for things I just don't have, though. I probably won't paint anything from the Civil War or Revolution, like anything to do with Revolution, because I don't have any of it. I don't want to start collecting that, because it's a whole other rabbit hole to go down. But if I find something, like if I find like a cool one, I will definitely paint it. But I definitely won't be painting up like full armies of these guys. One thing I did find, which was pretty cool, is I found a was it the toy store, and they have a dollar bin of just all junky, old broken toys. And I found so I was able to identify it. It's I think this is 5 inches. Someone asked me to paint the larger army men the other day, and I thought that would be a cool idea. So I've been looking for them on eBay. I didn't really love the pricing on them, but I found this. No, he's not 5. He's 3. This is a 3-inch Russian from World War II, and it's just like the other Russians I have. But he's got great detail for his size. So I will be painting him up at some point very soon. Let me get to these questions real quick. Yeah, I had a good time. This was fun. Yes. Yeah. I try and keep the videos simple. I can paint to a higher level. I absolutely can. It takes a long time. For me, it's trying to find that balance between what's enough to like create a cool short video, to add some music and to get people sort of like hyped on it, and like how much time do I really want to invest, and how much, like, what's the real, like, the value of that, like how going crazy and spending a week or more on a really detailed piece for a short video doesn't make a lot of sense to me. even like, I just want to get people excited and talking and have some conversation about it. But I do, there's one video I very short where I just kind of show you the a model, a Warhammer model. And that one I spent about 20 hours on. And that's definitely one of my favorite detailed pieces I've done. But at that point, I kind of had hit a wall too, because what I was being paid for it and the amount of time I was invested in it, like there has to be that balance. So right now the YouTube stuff doesn't make any money, and it probably won't for a while, but the time investment and the return on investment have to balance out. So I like to spend between 1 and 2 hours painting, and then 1 hour editing the video, and then I can get those out. That's like 3 hours out of my day. And if I can do that 3 times a week, or 2 times a week, 2 painting videos and maybe 1 showcase video, like the Matchbox guys where they're just spinning, where I show you like some cool stuff. I'm trying to keep like a pattern. So 2 paint videos, 1 showcase, 2 paint, 1 showcase. And you'll start to see that coming to really like fruition if you look at my shorts page. You can see it. There's go to my channel, go to shorts, and you'll see it goes display, paint tutorial, display, paint tutorial. So the next video I post, which will likely be tomorrow, I'll probably wait 2 days, spread them out a bit, but that'll be another Matchbox display. And I haven't decided what I'm doing yet, because 2 of them aren't opened. They have seals on them. I probably will open them, but I just did 8th Army, so I might do the Germans next. So left, I've got American, Germans, and so I did Afrika Korps and 8th Army. So Americans, Germans, and then the British. So there's 3 left for the Matchbox series. Then I was thinking, do I do Airfix, or what do I do next? Because the first one I did was an Airfix British. Oh no, I've got 3 left. I'm sorry, because the first one I did was Airfix British Commandos. But I do have. Yeah, it's one of these things where I'm like, do I do vintage? Do I keep collecting? It depends on what I can get, really. So it might be a different kind of display. It might be something else. But that's sort of the pattern I'm going to follow. But all right, guys, thank you so much again. I'm going to end this now. We're just coming up on an hour, which is great. So take care. And yeah, you can obviously rewatch this right after I post it. It'll be in the live section on my channel. Thank you for stopping by, and feel free to reach out to me in the community tab if you have more questions or comment on videos. I try and respond to everything. Actually, I'm pretty far behind on my comments right now, but I will do my best to get to everyone in good time. Thank you again for 10,000 subs. It's been really an exciting, just the past few weeks have been very exciting, but the past few months have been really great build up, and it's nice seeing the same people over and over again and getting to know some of the regular chaps that frequent the channel. So that's cool. Have a great day, everyone, and I will see you guys in my next video. Take care.